Here is where I get to set my spirit free. Here is where I find my naturality. Where are we going?
Where are we going? At this point, we are wrapping up what has been a whirlwind of a semester. With COVID rates on the rise, no one is sure what to expect in the months to come. This semester also saw the U.S. presidential election, social unrest, and overarching financial struggles. What will the future bring? And will we be prepared for it? Today, we will hear how Dr. Maurie McInnis, Stony Brook University's 6th president, views the current health, financial, and social crises in the context of Stony Brook. I'm Melanie Formosa, and I'm your host for today. Dr. McInnis, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
You became president of a world-renowned research institution roughly 5 months ago. You now face challenges brought by COVID, including the state and SUNY's financial position, as well as potentially reduced enrollment for the semesters ahead. With so much on your plate, what was your first priority in becoming president?
Yeah, well, you're right to point out that there are many challenges facing us. And so I thought, actually, my first priority needed to be sure that I was communicating effectively with the campus community. And so that's involved both listening, and I have been and will continue to be listening to our faculty and our staff and our students, but also really trying to increase our flow of information out to the campus community. We wanted to be able to be sure that everybody understood what we were doing in terms of preparations for fighting and battling COVID-19, or more appropriately, keeping it at bay as best we could, what we were doing in order to begin to tackle the financial challenges facing all of us. And of course, that third priority that you were talking about, which is of course thinking about how we as a campus community can be a increasingly welcoming and inclusive campus and deal with and tackle the problems raised over the course of the last 6 months focused on racial injustice.
Stony Brook is a role model university for its control of COVID-19. Dr. Deborah Birx, head of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, and SUNY's chancellor both visited the campus and praised the university's success in controlling the spread. Stony Brook also received an A grade from Harvard and Yale researchers for its handling of COVID. So with Thanksgiving break, student travel on the rise, and some students remaining on campus during the winter break, what is your strategy for managing COVID at Stony Brook in the approaching colder months as infection rates continue to surge?
Yeah, well, as we all know, going back inside does increase the risk of exposure to the virus. And another really important factor is just fatigue. People are getting tired of being away from each other, of having to have masks on all the time. And so an important piece of what we'll be doing is what we've been doing all along, which is to partner with our campus community, with our students. You all have been amazing in understanding the importance of following the guidelines in order to keep one another safe. But a very important part of why our campus community has successfully kept COVID-19 at bay is because we are doing regular surveillance testing, and that will continue. And in fact, we're just going to increase the frequency from once a week to twice a week. That's important because what you want to be able to do is very early on identify any cases, get those individuals into quarantine so that there isn't an opportunity for it to spread. But there are other pieces, of course, that are very important to that, right? So we've been sure to test everybody before they go home for the Thanksgiving holidays. And if they need to quarantine, they need to quarantine. And then increasingly thinking about that return to campus. So if you come back after the holidays, you'll go right back into surveillance testing. Our winter term we've already determined is a virtually entirely online term. And then the spring semester won't begin until February 1. And that decision was made to give us, the New York State and larger community, time to make it through what are likely to be waves of increasing virus after both Thanksgiving and the winter holidays. So giving us hopefully the month of January where case counts can come back down and we can have another successful return to campus like we did this fall. So again, students will have to be tested before they return to campus, and then immediately we will begin surveillance testing again. So we've had great protocols in place. We've proven that they work. Our students have done such a great job of modeling this caring for the community behavior that has really enabled us to successfully stay open. Today is November 20th. It's our last day of in-person classes, and we did it, right? We did it without needing to go to remote instruction. So I'm very proud of our campus community, and we'll be very vigilant and watching the case counts as we near return in February.
Social unrest is rampant across America and across the world. As a cultural historian, how can we take what we have learned from the past and apply it to current times?
Yeah, that is really such an important question, and really a question that's so important for this moment and for your generation. It can seem very presentist, but all of the inequalities that we are facing today are ones of long making. They have historical roots, and often understanding where we are today means understanding our history and sometimes grappling with our history and having our local institutions own those histories. Stony Brook has much to be proud of. We were actually named by Times Higher Ed as the #1 U.S. institution in reducing inequalities. And they have a lot of factors in that measure. One of it is the amazing work we do educating a diverse group of students who go on to have very successful lives and careers. So that's a piece of it, providing that kind of economic mobility to a diverse group of students. But a lot of it also has to do with the work we do in reducing health outcome disparities and the work we do as an institution around research that is focused on inequalities and how we can reduce inequalities. So this is really at the core of who Stony Brook is. This is what we do. This is part of our mission, and we just need to keep asking ourselves, and how can we continue to do this work and continue to make a difference around these issues?
Mm-hmm. In the context of nationwide protests and the U.S. presidential election, how do you plan to prevent that social unrest from seizing Stony Brook?
Again, I think it goes to who we are. We are a campus community that has long valued diversity as one of our core missions and a core piece of who we are as a campus community. So we are continuing our work to determine how we build on that history to make this place an even more welcoming and even more inclusive campus community. We still have work to do, absolutely. And there is important work for us to do together. And so we have a series of programs and initiatives that are on our website under a web page, and I won't get the title exactly right, but it's something along the lines of care, respect, and civility. And these are behaviors that we need to continue to model on our campus as we work with each other. But there's other important work we're doing as well. There has been a nationwide call to think about the role of policing in local communities. And so we've launched a task force and a committee also to look at that. How can we continue to build on and create strong partnerships between our campus community and our university police department? And that effort is being chaired by Judith Brown Clark, our Vice President for Equity and Inclusion and our Chief Diversity Officer, as well as Lawrence Zacharies, who is our Head of Police, as well as our VP for Campus Safety. And we have great conversations going on in that committee, and they'll be presenting their recommendations in December. So lots of work is going on, but lots of work for us to continue to do as a campus community.
Due to the pandemic, what the definition of success might look different in the future. How do you define success in these unparalleled times?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that in these unparalleled times, it's very easy to be focused on the tactical. And certainly part of the tactical has been, how do we keep our campus community healthy and safe? And I think for this semester, we can pat ourselves on the back and call that one as a job well done. But we also have to be focused on financial issues. The university is facing very difficult financial times, as is the state, the nation, and the world. And so we are certainly are being and will continue to be impacted by that as well. So those are some of the tactical issues that we're very focused on. But I would say the strategic priorities haven't changed at all. And that is, how do we as a campus community continue to build on excellence, supporting our faculty so that they can continue to do cutting-edge research that changes the world, and also deliver patient care that is changing and caring for lives. So building on excellence. I would say a second strategic priority is continuing to build on the power of partnerships. How do we as a campus community come together across multidisciplinary boundaries to solve big problems that are facing all of us? So one obviously is COVID, but there are much bigger ones than that, and we should be partnering together as a campus community to work hard on those. And then a third, of course, is continuing to focus on what we were discussing earlier, really. How does Stony Brook University continue to drive social and economic change, not only for our students and our campus community, but that also has an impact on New York and the nation.
And to wrap it all up, is there any question you would like to ask me?
Yeah, I would love to hear, how has this semester been for you?
A whirlwind of a one, as I said in our introduction, but better than I expected, at least on a personal level. I love social interaction. I love, seeing eye contact and being in a crowd, and that's gone due to COVID. But I don't know, I do enjoy the virtual learning, just because I'm able to have a very flexible schedule. So I love to run. I'm a runner. I love to run. So I can run before my class, get on the laptop a minute before, and then I can, go for a hike after. So it's allowed me to expand my routine more than it would have if I had to come to Stony Brook every day.
Yeah. So let me ask you, can I ask you one more question?
Of course.
Yes. What from the experience of virtual learning would you like to see continue, even though we're able to be back in person?
I would say the professors have been very caring, more caring than they were in the past. They understand that students have a life outside of school, whether it be caring for a sick grandmother or a parent that lost their job due to COVID, or just responsibilities that students have outside of the classroom, and professors have understood that. So I hope now, as we possibly return to in-person learning, professors will just kind of put that hat on as well and remind themselves that, okay, these students are people too, just like me, So.
Great.
Thank you so much for coming, President McInnis.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Thank you.
Don't turn around, just keep moving forward.